Product Marketing here at ServiceMax. I'm super excited to have you all join me today on this webinar of Introduction to ServiceMax and Service Parts and Reverse Logistics. The agenda, as you can see, looks very straightforward. My plan is to spend a few minutes talking about ServiceMax and some of the marquee products, and then to dive straight into Service Parts and Reverse Logistics, which is the major chunk of my presentation today. I call it out under Summer 12, which is a release that just went out from ServiceMax at the start of the month on the 1st of August. So the highlight of this release was SPN RL, which is Service Parts and Reverse Logistics. So let's start with an introduction to ServiceMax. For those of you who are remotely aware of ServiceMax, you would know that we have a big vision here at ServiceMax. We believe that the field service industry is in the midst of a major transformation. Traditionally, in the past, field service has been a very complex, cost-based operation with many moving parts. So getting the right technician with the right parts to the right customer at the right time was always the goal. But it took a lot of systems and resources and manual effort to achieve it. And obviously, we've had technology advancements in the recent years, and that has changed all of the past. And ServiceMax is leading the charge in helping customers rethink field service. So with the advent of the cloud computing and mobile computing and social collaboration technology advancements, the goals that were once challenging are now streamlined and automated. So at ServiceMax, we are leveraging, as you can see at the bottom of your screen, we're leveraging these three major technologies to deliver a complete suite of service lifecycle management. So this is the only slide I will show with respect to talking about the products from ServiceMax. It's all encompassing. As you can see, we provide a complete service lifecycle management solution from ServiceMax. We have scheduling, which is work order management, advanced scheduling, workforce optimization. We have contracts with install base management and entitlements, and our next release, which is the Winter 12 release, has major advancements in this area. We have parts, and as I told you before, the Service Parts and Reverse Logistics is going to be the bulk of the presentation, so we'll be covering a lot of this particular cloud here. And social is front and center. It's about using collaboration and real-time knowledge sharing to try and solve field service issues. And then there's the portal. You have access to everything ServiceMax has to provide via a portal both for the partners and for the customers. At the bottom here, you'll see that our solution is completely enabled on mobile platforms, and I'll talk a little bit about it in the next 3 slides. So the next 3 slides, I wanted to call out the 3 pillars of SOMO Close, Social, Mobile, and Cloud, just to talk about how we are leveraging these technologies. Again, what I just mentioned is showing up on your screen, and the fact that we are built on Force.com, that the cloud platform itself, gives us a chance to deliver hardcore capabilities from the field service perspective and not focus our resources and budget on building infrastructure and hosting data centers. Obviously, the platform is robust enough. It provides scalability and performance and security. There's the ease of integration and customization and extensibility. There's real-time upgrades to the platform, which means that our solution is also leveraging all the stuff that the platform provides at any point in time. That's us being cloud-based and cloud-centric. ServiceMax Mobile is one of the marquee products from ServiceMax. All of our solution is available anytime, anywhere, using a wide range of mobile devices. Our award-winning iPad app, we've got ServiceMax Mobile for smartphones, which has the iPhone, the Android devices, and BlackBerry. We've got ServiceMax Mobile for laptops, and so on. So the idea is whether you're a technician, a service manager, or an executive, you have access to anything that's going on in your field service organization at any point in time. ServicePause is our collaboration solution. It's based on Chatter from Salesforce.com, and we believe and have completely invested in customer delight. So it's not about, you know, like Facebook for at work. It's not about talking about your kids or sharing pictures on ServicePause, but it's about documenting and leveraging tribal knowledge. It's being able to take, you're not a lone soldier in the field anymore. You have the power of the entire organization with you in your on your mobile device with you, and then ServicePause just brings it to the front end. With that, I'd like to introduce Service Parts and Reverse Logistics, which is our latest release from Summer 12. I know that a couple of the folks on the phone may be aware of ServiceMax. So for those of you who know the various modules from ServiceMax, you would recognize that the parts logistics and the depot repair module from ServiceMax is the basis on which Service Parts and Reverse Logistics is built on. And I've kind of called it out on the graphics as well. So ServiceMax enables you to model your service network and set up complex routing rules to automatically speed returns through multiple depots and hubs and across suppliers and third-party vendors across the globe, various locations, and so on. And unlike standalone or outsourced logistics solutions that's out there today, ServiceMax's native integration with CRM, remember we are built on the Force.com platform, so this native integration with CRM empowers you to maintain the ownership of the customer relationships throughout the entire service process. With SPN RL, which is Service Parts and Reverse Logistics, we are entering newer markets. We are beginning to serve consumer electronics, high-tech manufacturing, and medical device manufacturing and capital equipment industries, all with the motto of reducing freight costs and increasing the turnaround time for returns, and eventually and ultimately impacting the top line, which is keeping the customers happy. So you're reducing churn, improving customer loyalty, and improving the stickiness, and so on. So Service Parts and Reverse Logistics does go a long way. I just thought this was important, just calling out how Service Parts Logistics and Reverse Logistics are different, and it's all under one umbrella term of Service Parts and Reverse Logistics. So Service Parts Logistics, which we've had for the longest time, is a field service strategy. It's about sending a technician out, making sure that you're able to track parts both at the warehouse level and in the trunk stock, and empowering your technician to be able to order parts and log the use of a part using his mobile device or anywhere else. So that was the parts logistics piece that we had. Now, reverse logistics is a complete different service strategy. It's when you don't want to dispatch a technician and you have high volume repairs and returns, and this is a depot repair strategy. So this is where you manage the forward logistics, which is to your repair centers, and reverse logistics, which is back from the repair centers to your customers. And we cater to all types of transactions, and I've just named a few here: returns and exchanges and repairs, refurbishments, RMAs, and so on. And we'll talk more about how we model. I have a few screenshots on how you can actually configure this modeling, and I'm excited to show that. So this is a graphical representation of SPN RL, and so please bear with me when I use SPN RL and Service Parts and Reverse Logistics. As you know, that's a mouthful, so I kind of just shrunk it here. So SPN RL in action. This is the lay of the land. Let's say a happy customer is in North America, and he's got an entire setup of his service network. He's got a hub in North America where he's consolidating, let's say, returns of laptops. And then he's got repair centers across the world, and then a supplier who maybe supplies parts to the particular laptop. So the customer, this is a B2B scenario, by the way. So let's say this customer is consolidating and sending all the repairs and returns to the hub in North America. From there, it goes to various repair centers. Could be anywhere in the world. There could be routing rules as to which set of laptops go to which repair center and why and how it's triggered and all that. And we'll talk to that. But it automatically goes to certain repair centers, and then could go from one repair center to another repair center, could go from the customer to the repair center. From the repair center, you give a call out to a supplier for a part, and then the supplier sends it back to you. It goes from the repair center to the hub, and multiple combinations, as you can see here. I'm just going to build it out, but this is forward and reverse logistics of just one hub and two repair centers and one supplier. Keep the numbers in mind. I might have a pop quiz on that or not. So what's different with SPN RL? And SPN RL is, for us, we are super psyched that it is completely cloud-based. It's an entire returns management, end-to-end reverse logistics solution. The advantage is it's fully integrated with CRM and the field service flows. So you could have a strategy which is both field service and depot repair, and our solution could cater to both arms of your organization. The key benefits, I think, are pretty obvious. Unlike other solutions which are not in the cloud, you have a global organization. You've got tens of third-party vendors, or even a few third-party vendors. You've got suppliers. You've got different systems. To be able to bring them all together in the cloud is so much more easier and doable versus having an on-premise solution. And then the fact that it supports complex global parts distribution network just means that you're able to model something as robust as your enterprise, which might have very specific business processes using our system. And the last benefit is, I think, key, which differentiates us from traditional supply chain solutions, because at the forefront, it might seem like this is a supply chain solution, but the fact that you're able to provide org-wide visibility and the ownership of customer relationship, and we'll talk more about this when I present the customer example, how you're able to regain the customer relationship that was once lost in this network is super critical, and that's what makes this a very CRM-ish solution. Okay, this was just to tell you, give you an idea as to the target market. Remember, I said we are venturing into newer markets, and the target market for service parts and reverse logistics is high-tech manufacturing, and I just called out a few examples. It's just because I've called out Sony and Canon and Intel doesn't mean that smaller companies can't use it. It just seemed like the most obvious way to drive home the point. So high-tech manufacturing, consumer electronic goods, and consumer electronic goods is a classic example of a B2C scenario wherein a camera is not something I would throw away just because it's broken, but I'd like to go through the process of calling up Canon and finding out if I'm entitled or if I'm in the warranty period, and then triggering the returns process or the repair process with Canon. And that's a B2C scenario. So we cater to both B2C and B2B scenarios. Then the medical device manufacturing and capital equipment is truly a no-brainer. The customers we are targeting are large global customers. I want to call out the word global more than large. I think a distributed network is what would call for such a solution. And of course, having a depot repair strategy is key. I mean, field service, sending a technician out is not something we are catering to with SPN RL. Bear with me as I read the value proposition. I just feel like if I read it out, it might drive home the point better. So for large technology enterprises that have very little visibility into their complex service network, ServiceMax's service parts and reverse logistics is a global depot repair and sophisticated parts logistics solution. Unlike what's out there today, ServiceMax provides an end-to-end enterprise-grade solution that allows companies to own and re-own the customer relationship through the service value chain, through the service supply chain. And that's the true value proposition of service parts and reverse logistics. Now let me just talk about the key capabilities, and I know a couple of folks on the call here today already sent out emails asking for much deeper dive, and hopefully we can take that offline. But the key capabilities of SPN RL is that one of the key capabilities is being able to model complex parts distribution networks. And I've just shown you, when I showed you the pictorial representation of this network, just imagine modeling and automatically being able to say, these are my depots, these are my repair centers, my in-country hubs, these are my suppliers, and being able to tell the system, configure it, set it up in a way that you know for this particular set of products with this particular scenario, it has to be routed to these locations. That's number one. Second is forward and reverse logistics for all types of parts transactions. And we spoke about this: returns, repairs, refurbishments, exchanges, RMAs, FRUs, anything is handled, is definable by you into our system. Then there's a rules-based multi-depot routing. This rules base is super important because you can now decide and define how the inbound routing has to work, which is to the repair centers, and then separately you can then define what the outbound routing looks like when it goes back to the customer. And I have screenshots for this, and I think that you can understand it better when you see it there. The fourth thing is to be able to handle large volumes. If you can just visualize a warehouse with the receiving station and the handling station and the shipping station and the clerks in these various areas, now imagine having a barcode-enabled receipt system where you can just quickly do a high volume receiving and handling and shipping. That just expedites the process dramatically. So being able to handle batch entitlements and large volume is key. The last is the product substitution matrix. With the substitution matrix, it's all about exchanges and upgrades, what product could be sent in place of what part could be given if the customer is entitled to it, and so on. That's an entire matrix you can fill according to your needs. And with that, I want to call out a few of the detailed features. And the first one is a quick entitlement check, which is the install base is pre-stamped with warranty and contract information. So you can just quickly see if the customer is entitled for something or not. You can configure the routing rules, both inbound and outbound. Where should the product be sent to? What path does the product take on returns? And so on. You can configure route calculation rules. It's not just defining the rules, but then you can say when it has to be triggered. And you can define the returns process. You can say, how do you process a return, a repair, or do you repair it, do you replace it, and so on. And obviously there's the product replacement, the substitution matrix. The receiving process is also key, wherein you can define how should inbound products at a depot be handled. The UI is obviously optimized for bulk receipts, so you can scan the barcodes to resolve products and serial numbers instantly. You can reconcile options. You have reconciliation options for non-matching products, and you can define delivery rules. It goes from how are products distributed within a depot. Is it automated, or do you want to have interactive delivery? There's forward shipments option. There's an entire engine which is like a black box, which generates, you can define it, and then it generates shipment orders automatically. And the last is the shipping process. So you have multiple options in shipping, and these are standard, pick and move and pack and ship kind of options. And these are detailed processes which you can very easily model and set up into the system. The next 5 slides, I have a few screenshots to show the configuration because I think Stephen is going to show you how it's going to be actually used and may not have time to go into the configuration part of it. So let's say this is how, remember we spoke about the high-level features and I said modeling the global distribution network is key. So with SPN RL, this is a screen capture of how you would be maybe modeling a system. In this example, I have Asia Pac with Malaysia having the repair center, and in North America is the Tucson hub. So even within Tucson, I can say, is this for good inventory? Is this, you can define the various functions for the various locations inside a particular warehouse. You can say there's receiving, and this is the receiving location. This is the default delivery. This is the staging location, and so on. So you can go into lots of details when it comes to modeling your network. And then there's the routes, the route card itself, where you're setting up inbound rules and inbound routing and outbound routing. So these rules are, they support various, our software supports various kinds of routing. We can, in this example, you'll see that we are routing laptops to the Malaysia repair center. So, you set it up that, hey, this first stop is the Tucson hub, and the second stop is the Malaysia repair center. So it would be routed through the hub to the repair center. And then you can say, hey, for a product which has a product family equals latitude, then I want to send them all via the Tucson hub to the Malaysia repair center. And then that's just inbound routing. Now in outbound routing, which is, remember, going back to the customer, we'd say, hey, you use this route to send the repaired laptops for all North America customers. You can say, you can set up these rules, you can make them active, inactive, and so on. Receiving operations. Receiving operations, again, as I said, it's barcode enabled, and you can bring in multiple line items for a case, and then you can say, okay, this is, you can enter the serial numbers here on the upper right hand corner, and then they show up here, and it's either expected, and then you can add it, which becomes received, or it could be not expected. You could still add it, and then it becomes received. So I think Stephen will take you through some of these screens, which are front end and not configuration based. This is another configuration wherein you can say you're preparing for forward shipment. Remember, we spoke about the forward shipment engine. So it has a particular schedule that it runs on, but you can consolidate shipments based on destination, based on customer preferences, and so on. And this kind of setup is done here on this screen. Shipping operations. So this is, again, going back to the warehouse, which is the receiving location, the handling location, and the shipping location. You would see that it's you can again do the barcode scanning, and you can just go ahead and receive these shipments, go through the serial numbers, and you can pick it and ship it, and so on. Remember, we spoke about pick and move and pack and ship, and this particular screen that's coming up here is triggered from one of the SFM buttons, the big blue buttons that's a trademark of SFM from ServiceMax. This will take a minute and talk to you about SFM. It's the configuration process which can be set up so the end user doesn't forget certain steps in the business process, and that will just handhold you through the process. So one of the process would trigger this screen, which is the shipping operations screen. This is the last screenshot, and I love this because here you see you have visibility of the entire service chain at any point in time. Just the route card itself on the lower right side, you would see that the route card, if I clicked on it, if it was a live system, you would see that there are these cute little check boxes that will tell you, okay, in the Malaysia repair center, it's gone through handling, it's gone through shipping. You can tell at any point in time what the status is. And again, this status is available for an end user as in the customer, to your customer's customer, which is you can see this online using on a customer portal. Your partners, your suppliers, and third-party vendors can see this using the partner portal. So all this is available. You can see the case lines, the parts orders, the work orders, and everything in just one screen. Okay, so this is the customer success I wanted to call out. I wish I could talk about who this is, but I can't. So the world's largest mobility technology provider, and just to lay the land, they have, I think I have it in my next slide, which is they have over 100 depots worldwide, and it's a massive, massive service supply chain network that they have. The problems they were facing, or they were trying to solve, is they had this unsustainable solution for many existing install base, with the complication that the install base was spread across in multiple locations, which is actually the nature of their business. But the segments of customers were distributed, they are distributed. So if this leading manufacturer's customers sell parts or products to other entities, this new purchaser now has the ownership of all the equipment. So the mobility tech provider that we're talking about doesn't get to know this purchaser until a return or a repair is triggered. Hence, the visibility is really fragmented. Also, who do I have as vendors? That's a typical question that our customers have. There's no central record that this particular customer had with respect to the ecosystem of vendors through the primary customer. And then they needed to know who owned the product that was originally sold. Was it the original seller? Was it the acquired vendors? Which acquired vendors? Is there a trend to where the returns are coming from? Maybe from a particular state in North America. Why is that happening? They couldn't do any of this trend analysis, quantitative analysis, or any kind of analysis for that matter. So that was something that they were truly looking to achieve. And with ServiceMax, they now have a centralized management of globally distributed install base and their depot repair activities. You can imagine that the screen I had with 2 repair centers and 1 hub. Now imagine having 104 repair centers and having about 4 million repairs per year. That is massive transaction right there per year. So with ServiceMax, they were able to reduce the freight costs and improve customer satisfaction. They were able to own the customer relationship and the ownership of the relationships away from the authorized service centers. So this is the scale at which the solution can operate, and that's the value that ServiceMax brings to our customers. That was just one example. We have success in both mid-market and enterprise across the globe in all the continents, I believe, except Antarctica, of course. And as you can see, we are trying and we are forefront in building a customer community. We are bringing our customers and the field service industry itself together. We host several in-person events over the year to help foster this community. We have a big event coming up in San Francisco, and I'll talk about that in a second. This will give you a chance to mingle with others in your industry, share best practices. I know there's one person on the call today who's front and center on this. We strive to make connections for our customers from within certain industries as well. We host a medical device user group biannually, and we also have plans to foster groups in other industries in the future. So we proudly sponsor the Smart Van, and if you guys aren't aware of it, I urge you to go to thesmartvan.com. It's a site exclusively dedicated to field service, and that's a place you can find a lot of interesting information. So with that, I think it's the right time to show you the product. And Stephen, if you're on, you can just take control, and it's over to you.
Great, great. Thank you, Vidya. That was a great presentation, very informative. As Vidya mentioned, my name is Stephen Elrod. I'm in the training department here at ServiceMax. And what we're going to do at this point is walk through a live demo of our service parts and reverse logistics. But before we get started, I want to spend just a few moments talking about the interface that you're probably seeing on your screen right now. For those of you who are not familiar with the ServiceMax or Salesforce.com environment, this might look a little new to you. For those of you that may currently be on Salesforce, you probably will recognize what you see today. So let's just take a few minutes and talk about some of the items that we're looking at so that we can get through and get to our demo. Up at the top is your Home tab. So this is just your landing page when you first come into the tool. Then we have a few different tabs across the top. The idea behind them, which we'll just cover a few, accounts being anybody that you're really doing business with. So these could be your customers, your competitors, your partners, any business that you have a relationship with. Contacts being the people who work at the account. Our locations, and we'll take a little look at this when we go into the demo, being the different locations at the account level. So for example, if you have a hospital, it may have an emergency room, an x-ray room. So you can think of an account as the customer, and then the locations being the different locations within there. Cases, this is where we think of our support center, and our support center would come in and possibly take a phone call. A customer could open a case through a portal. Either we've all seen this today, we probably have all done this today, or at least we will this week, calling in somewhere to someone to have them open up a case. Same idea here, they're just called cases within ServiceMax. Work orders being the work orders that the either field tech or depot repair tech might be working on. So anytime we are dispatching or having someone work on a specific product, they're going to work from the work order itself. And we'll look at those a little later in the demo as well. And then this idea of products and installed products. So ServiceMax does allow you to keep a listing of all of your products that you offer, and then your installed products being those products that have been installed at a certain location. So we might sell widgets, and the widget number 123 has been installed at a certain company. So that's just a high level of a few of the different objects we're going to talk about today. There's still a wealth of information behind the ServiceMax environment, but we will just stick with this base knowledge foundation so that we can move on into our service parts and reverse logistics. So for our demo today, we're gonna play this scenario similar to what Vidya mentioned earlier. We have a manufacturer with a depot repair strategy. They have a hub in Tucson, and they're going to have a repair center in Malaysia. So this is a very simple, simplistic approach. We have one hub and one repair center. If we remember the slide that Vidya posted up with the globe and all of the different repair centers, possibly a supplier, you could have multiple hubs, multiple repair centers, and your different routing rules would route your products to different locations. And we'll take a look at what that looks like. For our scenario, we're going to go Tucson to Malaysia. So our customer calls in, and our customer service rep picks up the phone and answers the call. And we learn that the caller is from Smooth Edge Communications. So I start to look for the account. Up here in the search bar, I'm able to start to type in, and it will recognize anything that I've looked at previously. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that Smooth Edge, and it's going to bring up the account details. Here I'd have things such as the phone number, any information that you have or want to put into these fields. It's customizable. And what I'm doing now is I'm asking the caller, where are you located? And up here at the top, I can see they have one location, and this is a WHS Austin. So this is the location of the customer that's on the phone with me today. So I'm going to go ahead and drill a little farther down and drill into their location. And it turns out that the caller is calling on a specific installed product. So we sell a laptop, Latitude D520, and they're calling on a specific one. So as I scroll down, I see installed products. So these are all of the products that are installed at this location. So we have quite a few. We have a list of 18. So if we just drill in to see a little farther, I'm able to find and look through all of these. And I can ask the caller, well, which one are you calling in reference to? And she tells me she's calling in reference to L042789. So now I've located the installed product. Also, you could have just searched by this installed product and it would have taken you directly here, but I wanted to kind of walk you through some of the screens. So now that we know that this is the installed product, I want to go ahead and open a case so that this laptop is no longer working. We can't get it to turn on. I've tried to resolve it from the phone, and I'm unable to, so we need to go ahead and move on to the next step. So you'd have a few options with that. For our scenario, let's go back to our location. And we'll scroll down here to, I'm sorry, not our location, our account, which was Smooth Edge Communications. And then we'll scroll down to cases. And here we'll create a new case. At this point, we're probably going to gather some information from our caller. Her name was Rose. We know that she was calling in reference to that 042789. So I'm able to quickly locate that. I could search for it as well up here in the search bar, but luckily it comes up in my recently viewed because we did recently look at this. You can fill in your details. This is a high priority, and we all will probably gather different details at this point. So for our demo org, we're going to just, these are some things that are important to us. And then we're going to give it a subject as well. Let's say, laptop will not turn on. And we have, just so they know, we have already attempted system reboot. Still not working. We know that's the first thing we all try, right? Turn it on and then turn it back off. So they tell us, no matter what the problem is. So from there, we've entered our details, and we can click Save. And what this is doing now is it's saving the case, and we could, depending on your process, you could say, thank you very much. Here's your case number 1221, because it's going to generate an auto number. And we all know that customers enjoy a tangible number that they can research back to. Or if somebody was opening this via your portal, they would also have access to this case number. At this point, we have our case with some details that we just added, and we can start the return process. Step one is we need to add and edit case lines. So right here under this Manage Return bar, we see Add and Edit Case Lines. When I click on this, it's going to open up my service flow transaction screen. There we go. And it's going to bring in some of those details that we put in already. So we're getting this idea of, think about being on the call and always knowing your details. I know I've been in customer service situations where they go, sorry, Mr., and you can tell they're clicking back a few screens to figure out my name. With ServiceMax, that's not a problem. We're going to keep everything in one central location, this idea of a one-stop shop. And here's all of our details, and now we can continue to add more. And so we're going to start a case line. I'm going to add a row by clicking this button right here at the plus sign. And what this is going to do is let me put in that specific information to what we are returning. So it's going to be that L042789. And then just by tabbing over, I can start to fill in some more detail. So I know this is my latitude, so I can do a search by just maybe doing LAT and then using my search. And it'll just narrow down my search what it's going to bring back. A lot of customers would have a number of products, and no one wants to go through all of that. So we can just quickly locate it. Then you have some more fields. Again, everybody would want to probably gather something different here: problem summary, entitlement status, problem description. But for our scenario, this is all we need, and we'll click Save. So now this is creating that case line, which is really the idea of a line item that you're going to put into the return. So now we have the line item. We have the case line. You can see it right here. And then we can initiate the return. So at this point, we're probably starting to wrap up our call with Ms. Gonzalez. We're letting her know that we are going to process the return, and we're probably going to give her a routing number as well. Up here at the top, you probably see it saying now calculating routes, and now it says now generating RMA. So this is that idea of routing rules that Vidya alluded to earlier, that we have a product that has a specific routing rule. So all of our laptops, or maybe all of our D520s, or however we have our rules set up, however complex, ServiceMax is able to handle that. And what it's done now is it's said, okay, well, since this is a D520, we're going to route it to Tucson. And then in a moment, you'll see that it was also already know that it's going to route it to Malaysia. And perhaps if you had a different product that needed to go a different route, that could happen as well. Maybe your D630s go directly to Malaysia. They skip the hub. So now we have our RMA number and our case number, and we could give the caller all of these details. And we probably at this point are going to go ahead and hang up the call. So from here, I'm going to click right into this screen, which will take me into my RMA. Great. So what I want to do now is take off my customer service hat, and I'm going to put on my receiving dock hat, and I'm at the Tucson hub. So now I'm at the receiving dock, and I get a package, and it's time for me to receive in this package. So I will quickly and simply click this hub receiving process. And it's loading the receipts. And now at this point, if we had a scanner, or we were using the barcode functionality, we would be able to utilize the scanner, and this process would be automated. Unfortunately, my scanner's in the shop, so we're going to move forward on a manual process, which also gives you the idea of being able to understand what's happening. So here we have the details up here at the top, and now the section that we're going to fill in. It's asking us for what product code do you have, and what are their serial numbers. We got a little tip and trick here. If you actually click right onto this what's expected area, you'll notice that D520 is populated. So down here, the system knows, hey, you should be getting a latitude D520, and it should be this serial number. If we're lucky and everything works out the way it should, that would be what comes in the box. So it auto-populated D520. I do need to confirm that that is the correct serial number. So I look, and I notice that it is. Hold on one second. Let's move this over. All right. So we can see down here under serial numbers, this is the one we're expecting, and it says expected. As I come into the serial number area and I put in my serial number, I click Tab, and voila, it is now received, and it's going to go ahead and let me know that it wants to add it. And we can see now that received is 1. And then let's say the customer threw in another one just for fun to confuse us. So they gave us also L098765. And if I hit Tab, you can see that it now says, well, that's not expected, but you can go ahead and add it if you like. And we could go down the list. So we all have scenarios, I'm sure, where customers send us in something we weren't expecting. They throw another item in the box, and ServiceMax is able to handle that requirement as well. For our scenario, I'm going to go ahead and remove this. Our customer followed our expectations and only sent us the 1. So now at this point, we've got our lines entered. This is what we received from the customer, and I'm going to click Save. So what this is doing is it's saving the receipt, and it's going to ask me next, well, now that you've got it, where do you want to send it? So it's loading our receipts, and now it's saying, okay, it's here in the Tucson delivery. It's here in Tucson. Where do you want to send it next? So remember, Vidya talked about the idea of your depots and your hubs and your repair centers also having the ability to have multiple locations within them. So this depot may have, this hub, I'm sorry, may have a delivery section. They may have a holding section. They may have a receiving section. All of these different areas that are housed in your hub, we can accommodate that as well. So for our simplistic example, we're just going to move this straight into our delivery area. Because remember, the laptop is coming from Tucson and then being routed into Malaysia. So it's just really kind of coming through here. So I'm going to say Tucson delivery, and I'm going to click Save. So now it's going to save the delivery piece for us. And the next piece we want to look at is I actually want to take a step back and go in and look at our case. So we can see we have our RMA that we've been working out of. We did this hub receiving process. Here's our case. I'm just going to open this back in a different tab. And as I click on the tab, we can see here's our case information that we started with. Here is the parts order. So this is the RMA that we just went through. And you can see it's completed because we moved it to delivery. And we have this case line. Remember, we created this initially with the caller still on the phone. So I'm going to click on this. I want to show you something that's in here. Under our case lines, we have what are called our route cards. I'm going to simply click on the link here for route card 85. And here's our ServiceMax route card. And this is one of our favorite pieces where you can see the idea of constantly knowing where your product is. So like Vidya said again, that this could be the customer calling back to your customer service center saying, hey, where's my laptop? Or if they are accessing through the portal, you would be able to display information to them as well. So we not only know where it is, but we know where it's going. So we can see that the first stop was the Tucson hub. The next stop is the Malaysia Repair Center. So since it's in the Tucson hub, we can see that it's been received. and now it's been delivered because we did the delivery section to Tucson delivery area. So caller calls up. You can say, sorry, Ms. Gonzalez, I see that it has been received at our hub, and it's been delivered, so it's on its way out. It hasn't been shipped yet, but it's in the delivery stage, so it's about to be shipped out. And from there, it's going to go to Malaysia and then be worked on. So you might have a little bit of a wait, Ms. Gonzalez, but at least we're able to give the information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this open in this tab so we can come back and we can show how the system is smart enough to keep populating these for us. All of this automation, which is great. So now if we come back to our, this is our RMA we're in now. I actually want to go into our case so that we can see our next step. So now remember, we've processed the, let me refresh this screen. We've processed the delivery. So that means it's gone out of, it's not gone out yet. It's getting ready to go out of our Tucson hub. And there we go. Our shipment request has been generated. So now it's getting ready to leave Tucson to go to Malaysia. So it's created a shipment. Now if I click on the shipment record, we have that idea of pick and move and pack and ship. For those of us in the industry, we're probably very used to this terminology. And the idea is we're going to take this from the delivery holding area where it's sitting. So we're going to create a pick list for our warehouse employee to go in and pick all the items that are going. And they're going to move it over to be shipped out. So I'm going to click pick and move. It's loading all of my information. And it's the same screen that we looked at before. Again, the scanner would be great for my demo, but I'm going to go ahead and do this manual. So I'm going to click on this D520 you see down here. Auto-populates this for me. And I confirm that this is my serial number. You can see it still says expected. Picked quantity is 0. And when I click tab, it now changes our status to picked and our picked quantity to 1. Perfect. So I'm going to click save. Now if we come back up to our route card, which is just in my other tab, so I'm not doing anything besides changing my web browser. So remember, ServiceMax is a web-based application, so all of your internet and web-based tricks still work. I'm a big fan of tabs, so it's great for me to keep a couple tabs open on something I'm working on. So I have my tab now for my route card, and I'm going to refresh this screen. And look at that. It's already moved to picked. So now the customer comes back in and checks again, and they know exactly what's going on. So they know it's been picked, and it's about to be shipped. So I'm just going to click my tab back, and I'm going to go to my shipment order, where we previously did pick and move. And you've guessed it, we're going to do pack and ship. So I'm going to click on pack and ship. And this is really just a confirmation screen saying, is this what you want to do? All of the information and details are populated. No data entry needed. And I'll click save. Now we're actually wearing our shipping dock hat versus our receiving dock hat, and we've now shipped this out. So if we go back to our route card, which I'm just going to go up again to the tab and refresh the screen, it has now been shipped. So here's our parts order, and from here I'm going to go back into my case. And all of these items, if you see anything that's underlined, those are hyperlinks into those items, so into those records. So that's how I'm quickly and easily toggling in between these things. If you're not friendly with tabs up here at the top, you can just click on the links and they'll take you as well. And what we can see now has happened down here in our parts order is remember, the RMA is what started this process, and the RMA is what was sent to Tucson. The work, or really the movement, was done in Tucson, and now there was shipment created in Tucson, which was to ship it to Malaysia, and now another RMA has been created, and the RMA is what will now be used in Malaysia. So we have an RMA in, shipment to help it get out, and now an RMA to receive it into Malaysia. And so if we go into this RMA, we have the same idea as before. So now we're going to put on our Malaysian receiving dock hat, click on the Malaysia receiving process. I'm going to select my D520, input my serial number, watch as everything changes automatically for me, just as it did before. Again, this is where we'd use our scanner, and I can click save. So now this is it being received, and if we look at our route card, and we refresh this, we've got the received piece. So in this specific scenario, we have the receiving and the delivery into one flow, so it's kind of happening step by step like a wizard. And so now we're going to do the delivery piece. So remember last time we just moved it to Tucson delivery. Now we have a few more options. Well, where does this need to go now that it's in Malaysia? Well, because of the laptop and it needs to be repaired, we know it needs to go to that laptop repair bench. So I'm going to send it to the laptop repair bench, and I'm going to click Save. So now this is creating or saving the receipts, letting everyone know that it's been received, and probably all have already guessed what else it's going to do and update that route card to delivered. So when I come back to my route card and I refresh the screen, it's been delivered. So now if we think about this logically for a moment, the laptop has come into the receiving dock. It's now been delivered to the repair bench. Well, something needs to happen at this repair bench. Somebody needs to work on it. So we probably have a depot repair technician that's going to be in charge of handling this specific product. So he's going to need, or she's going to need, a work order. So it also auto-created a work order. And this is where the technician will put all of their details. And in just a moment, we'll take a look at that. So I'm going to go back to my parts or back to my RMA. So here's my RMA. It's now completed because it's been received and delivered. And I'm going to go back to my case by simply clicking on my case link. So here's my case. We still have our RMA, shipment RMA. We have our route card, and now something new. We have this work order, which we saw that it was created in the route card, but now let's take a look here. What happens at this point is it's now sitting in front of a technician who's going to do the work. We have, like we said before, a number of different types of work orders. We have the idea of a field tech who would work from a work order while they're going out. We also have this idea of a depot repair work order, which is where a depot repair technician will take the time to do the work. And at this point, they have a lot of options. They can create estimates. They can check entitlements. And then things can change in here as well based off your configuration. Maybe you have a lot of questions and a lot of details that your technicians need to put in. This is where we get to that idea of solution management. You know, why was this broken? What was the root cause? All of those details are housed here in work details, work order details. For our scenario, we're going to stick with just following our service parts and reverse logistics. The technician would close out the work order would be the next step. And once they close this out, it would then generate the next piece, which would be a shipment back out. So Vidya alluded to the idea of that forward shipment process, and what that's doing is we're setting a schedule to where you only do forward shipping at this time. So that way we're getting the most for the buck. We're getting the most items in that one shipment. So since I can't run time forward and I don't want to make everyone sit through here while we wait for our forward to run, I have a record that's already gone through the forward shipment. So kind of put this on hold for 1 minute and let's go look at a different record. So here we can see a scenario where everything is already run through. We still have our route card, our case lines, and now we have our RMA. This was into the Tucson hub to Malaysia shipment, an RMA from the Tucson hub to Malaysia. And now since we completed the work order, so if I come down to the work order, we see the work order is in a closed status, and then the forward shipment would have run, then it would have generated this shipment out. So now for this routing rules, it's going right from Malaysia, and they're going to send it right back to the customer. So remember when Rose Gonzalez called us, she was at the WHS Austin location. So this routing has been completed. Everything's been finished here. We have the work order, and this was all in automation. So unfortunately, I can't demo that, but understand that once this was closed, this was created automatically. So no data entry. All of this is mapping fields from object to object. So you're cutting down on any data entry, user error, things along those lines. All right, so with that, that's our entire process for this example. I'm sorry, I won't say entire process. There's definitely a lot more we could talk about. But for this example, that is our demo on service parts and reverse logistics. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Vidya.
Okay, great. And I just want to remind people, if you have a question, go ahead and submit your question through the Q&A panel. And Vidya will just share one little bit of information here while we're waiting for a couple questions to come in. Stephen, thank you so much for the demonstration. That was just right on, and I think the audience have a good sense of service parts and reverse logistics now. I urge all the listeners to come join us at Maximize 2012, which is our annual event. This is the hyperlink to where you can go and register. It's on the 18th of September in San Francisco. It's in line. It's in the same week as Dreamforce. So for those of you who are coming to Dreamforce, it's just a Tuesday off that week, and we'd love to meet you, talk with you, and share more information with you. You'd get a chance to meet our customers, our partners. We have Will McNeil from Gartner coming as well for a keynote. You'll get all that information on the link that's shown on the screen here. And the last thing I want to call out is we have the new SPN RL data sheet on our website. You can either follow the link at the bottom of the screen, or you can even go to the home page, go to data sheets, and then you'll see the list of all the data sheets, and you can just pick this particular data sheet to read more about service parts and reverse logistics. And with that, I thank you for your time, and I think we might have, do we have time for one or two questions, Nicole?
Yeah, there was one question that had come in. I believe that it was answered there towards the end, but when, Vidya, for you, when Stephen was talking about how the whole process is automated, quote, automated, what do you mean by that, or can you provide more detail?
Sure. So the system automates various processes at various levels. So right from the initial receiving hub to the handling to the shipping, there are various stages of automation that happens. You know, right from once you've set stuff in your routing rules, that is automatically routed, right? It automatically goes from one hub to that particular repair center. And obviously, our scenario is pretty straightforward that Stephen and I spoke about, but you have to, in your mind, imagine and map it to your situation of tens of hundreds of hubs and repair centers. So it knows where to go next after, for example, automatically generating the RMA or automatically generating the shipment orders. Obviously, you have to scan in. The barcode has to be scanned at every location because you want to make sure that you've received it, because this is, end of the day, it's a physical entity that's moving from one location to another. So the barcode scanning has to be done manually every time. But once that's done, then the process gets triggered. There's the forward shipment engine, obviously, that automatically generates the shipment orders for you and so on. So there's automation at multiple levels, Nicole.
Okay, perfect. And we are at the top of the hour, so there aren't any further questions. Hopefully we've answered all of them for you. If you think of anything after the fact, feel free to always email us at info@servicemax.com. And that will conclude today's session. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to talking with you further. Thank you.